Hello and welcome to day 2 of RSAC conference. I am Jen English here with Informa Tech Target and Ion Tech, streaming live from Broadcast Alley, and it has been a full day of all things cybersecurity. We've talked agentic AI, we've talked security operations, we've talked about a lot. And I'm very excited because I have here with me Michael Ratemo from, let me make sure that I'm actually getting this correct. Yes, Principal Consultant of Cybersecurity Simplified. And I'm very excited to talk with you about cloud security because you just spoke on this. So I think you're the perfect guy to speak to about cloud native security postures. But first, before that, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, your history, and go ahead.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to meet you too as well. So my name is Michael Ratemo, like you said. I'm a principal consultant at Cybersecurity Simplified. So Cybersecurity Simplified is an organization that focuses on cloud security. We do other things like cloud assessments, managed security, pen testing, and the like. And as far as my passions, I'm really passionate about the cybersecurity field. You know, I started off as a field called information assurance. I was an IT auditor, and then I kind of merged into cybersecurity. And this is what I really enjoy doing, and I've gotten to actually enjoy coaching people as well as training and teaching. So I even mentor like future security practitioners who are trying to get into the field.
Very cool. So I know you mentioned before, in your session, you really tried to get some hands-on engagement. So tell me about what you just spoke on, how that went, and yeah, it's cloud native security posture.
Yes. So I had a session this morning, and my session was titled Cloud9, Unlocking Cloud Security Posture Management Solution Powers. So this session was actually also a learning lab. So what we did, we curated some labs in Amazon Web Services and also in Azure. So in Microsoft Azure, and there are 2 tools we were using in there, and we were actually trying to help the participants to get hands-on experience in the cloud, use the various tools to see how they can manage their cloud security, because managing cloud security is a very challenging aspect in itself. You know, I'm sure we'll dive into that later. I'll give you the reasons why this is a very challenging area, but they were able to, get their hands dirty. We actually had executives in the room who usually do not get down and dirty with these tools, but they were able to go there and interact with security engineers and share ideas and come up with good solutions.
Great. So let's dig into it, right? So what do you think the execs are concerned about with cloud security, and then what do you think the security engineers are?
So as far as the security executives, a lot of them are very high levels, with the CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers, the VPs, they're more concerned with the business, translating security into the business risk, right? So they're more concerned on the higher level objectives. What is the impact of any cloud security vulnerabilities to the bottom line, right? So they are more looking at what are the regulations that if we are not adhering to, what would the impact be to the company's bottom line? And the engineers themselves, they are more interested in the technologies. They want to find out the latest and greatest. So we were talking about the new tools that are out there. So for instance, we have a tool by Wiz, and this tool was bought by Google Cloud not too long ago. And there's another tool called Prisma Cloud that just changed its name. It's now called Cortex Cloud, and it's integrating artificial intelligence. So the security engineers are really excited about this integration with the capabilities and the latest technologies. But the VPs and the CISOs, they're more excited about more of the strategic level within security.
So you have the hype and you have reality of all of these emerging techs. What do you think security engineers can do to prioritize what they want to get out of this conference or just cybersecurity in general?
So I think what they need to start with is have an objective of what they're actually trying to look for. So I tell them, in your space, find out what is most important to your company, right? So we all talk about risk-based assessments. So find out what is the risk of anything you're doing within your organization, and within that, follow that line and come and attend the sessions that are relevant to what is riskiest in your organization. So for instance, if you have cloud, we encourage you to go attend cloud sessions. If you have adopting AI, go attend some AI sessions as well. If you have other different pieces of technology, find something that's relevant to that and see if you can attend that.
Nice. So, what is the state of cloud security nowadays? Loaded question.
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
So, it's very, very dynamic. So, as we were talking about, so cloud is very decentralized. It's very dynamic. It changes a lot, right? So, with the advent of the cloud, they keep adding new services, right? So for instance, right now we have what they call multi-cloud. Organizations are using multiple cloud service providers. And then they have all these cloud service providers have different services. So you have, say, Amazon Web Services has different services. Azure has different services. Google Cloud as well. And if you're using, say, Oracle Cloud or IBM Cloud, they have different services. And then you also have other things, like, for instance, we have something called containers, right, that are deployed on demand and destroyed when they're not in use. So that's another challenge. And then we have things called lambdas. We call them serverless. We call them serverless computing. So like in AWS, it has the name lambdas. In Azure, they call it Azure Functions. In Google Cloud, it's Google Run Functions. So it's very hard to manage all these different names and be able to track all your different services. So that's what makes cloud security very, very challenging. So the tools that have been introduced are helping us to get a handle on what the cloud is offering and what the risk is. So that's why I say that the state is ever evolving and ever changing. And we, as the industry, we are trying to keep pace with the evolution of the cloud.
So we hear about data breaches. How does that, relate with cloud breaches, right? Like, what is going on with that, and how can enterprises protect themselves against those?
Very interesting question. So there's actually a statistic out there by an institution called Gartner. They said 99% of all the cloud breaches can be attributed to something called a misconfiguration. So what a misconfiguration is, it's a security oversight that's sustained when you're building or maintaining your cloud. And there's various reasons of why we have cloud misconfigurations. The main one being human error. The cloud is new, it has various settings that are complex. You might not know to go to this feature to turn it on. There's also the fact of these cloud service providers, they built these clouds to be developer friendly. So they built them with inherently insecure settings. We call them default settings that allow all kinds of vulnerabilities and risk. So if you start up your cloud and you do not configure it to be secure, you're going to have an inherently insecure cloud. So those are some of the main risks that we have within the cloud. And then, like I talked about, the cloud is very dynamic. Another issue we were talking about is in the cloud, because the cloud is directly accessible from the internet, it's a prime target for attacks such as, I don't know if you heard about this crypto mining.
Yep.
A lot of the attacks in the cloud, they are trying to get your resources to mine crypto. Yep. They can do account takeovers. There's also other things they can do, like supply chain compromises, right? So those are some of the key challenges that we are seeing within the cloud, and we are trying to come up with different ways to address them. The other things, like in the cloud, it's very hard to have a good visibility of what your assets are, because you have all these assets that have been initiated by your cloud personnel, and your traditional on-premise personnel are not aware that they're there. So there's an issue also of something we call shadow cloud, where somebody could start up a cloud and put your company assets in there, and you're running the cloud and no one in the organization is aware of that. Yep. That's a big, big risk, because when your assets are up on the cloud, outside of your corporate controls, they're very vulnerable.
So can the concept of secure by design be transferred to cloud environments for these security teams, or is that something that's coming from, that has to come from the cloud security providers? Or?
So that's a very interesting question. So secure by design, I think the cloud providers are trying to implement it now, especially the big cloud providers. Google Cloud, I know, for instance, has invested a lot in security. Amazon Web Services have invested a lot, even Microsoft. So for instance, in Amazon Web Services, whenever you created storage accounts, they were public by default, but now they're actually putting them private because a lot of people didn't realize that there was a lot of cloud breaches, due to like public S3 buckets. I know Google Cloud too, like a lot of the providers, I was looking at Microsoft the other day, I was trying to set up an account. It forces you to implement multi-factor authentication. Before you didn't have to do that, so you could have an account open without multi-factor authentication. So like the cloud service providers, the big ones are investing a lot in security. The smaller ones, not as much, but they are following suit because the cloud is still a very, very big challenge to all of us.
Yeah. So what can security and IT pros do to face those challenges then?
So the first thing I always preach is they need to upskill themselves, right? They need to take cloud security training. Yep. So come to conferences like this one, RSA, look for the cloud security training sessions. Go to like SANS, has pretty good training on cloud. They need to learn something called automation skills. So a lot of the times these companies are creating infrastructure in the cloud manually, but there are tools and technologies that you can use to automate the process. So we call some of these tools infrastructure as code. So take your personnel out there, learn some of these tools. Some of the popular tools are like HashiCorp Terraform. AWS has a tool called CloudFormation. So they can learn how to create this infrastructure in a very controlled fashion. And then you can repeat the process over because automation helps you cut down on the human error that causes misconfigurations.
And do you think, you mentioned, kind of alluded to the skills gap, right? That's there, we know it. It's been around for cybersecurity and IT in general. Automation can help in some ways with upskilling or helping with the divide, I think, in that. Do you think agentic AI is going to be able to help with that security gap, like skills gap?
AI is going to help in a big way because we previously had to actually go in and actually create modules like you could use something like a Lambda to create a function that can remediate, say, a security gap. But now with AI, it's learning what is considered risky services. If they're open ports, it's kind of learning what these ports are, and then it can automatically enforce those security settings. So I think we are seeing the industry moving towards AI. So like I said, for instance, Prisma Cloud, they have now changed to Cortex Cloud, which has integrated AI. So they are trying to go into the direction of where we want AI to help us. Instead of us manually going in there and trying to solve the issue, we want these machines to kind of learn from what they're seeing and take the corrective action.
So we've talked on a lot of different points, distilled information for what are the security engineers actually concerned with in their day-to-day?
So security engineers, they're more concerned about, there's a couple things that security engineers look like, right? So like I said, the high-level executives are more concerned about risk and the bottom line. Security engineers are more concerned about the different technologies that they use and how they can advance themselves in these technologies. So they're more concerned about looking at the tools and figuring out who's actually trying to bypass the controls within the tools. So there's various tools that they really enjoy looking at. There's a tool called the SIM tool that has alerts. So they enjoy actually looking at these tools and seeing who's trying to bypass the controls, who's trying to possibly hack into the system, right? So they're very concerned in maintaining and managing the tools and ensuring that they're getting good data out of the tools. Sometimes these tools have a lot of false positives, so they really want to fine-tune the tools so that they can actually get accurate data that can help them within their jobs.
So what are you hoping to get from this conference this week?
So I'm hoping to learn some new technologies, some new processes. So I actually want to attend some AI sessions out there. I want to learn the direction, like a lot of these vendors are trying to incorporate AI because AI is a new thing out there. I'm seeing a lot of vendors are now, they have websites that say .ai. So I want to know, do they really have artificial intelligence in their product, or are they just adopting AI as a hashtag?
Yep.
So that's one of my key things I want to do at the conference.
Great. And I'm curious to know your thoughts on what are you most excited about in the security realm? Like what's really just interesting to you right now?
For me, security, like it's constantly changing. My passion and what really excites me is getting individuals who are trying to break into security, getting them into the field. You know, traditionally the field has had a huge gap, you know, between the workforce and the jobs that are out there, but lately it's not been the case. So just training our future security practitioners who can take over from us, you know, because the Generation Z, they're very knowledgeable. You know, they grew up on social media. A lot of people don't know this, but you know, when somebody tells you they're not in IT, I usually ask them, do you have a cell phone?
Yep.
They say yes, I tell them, you're already in IT.
Yep.
So that's really my passion, you know, getting the next generation into cybersecurity.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation, and thank you to you for watching. And if you missed Michael's session earlier, please go ahead and watch that again, Cloud9 Security.
Yes.
All right, and thank you. And again, here with Informa Tech Target and Ion Tech, RSAC conference, and looking forward to seeing you next, I guess, tomorrow. Yeah, and that's a wrap.